Verna Harris Richardson, born and reared in Tuxedo Junction, about a half a block from what they call Tuxedo Junction.
My name is Hank Lehman. I was born and raised in Ensley. I attended Charles A. Brown Grammar School for 8 years and began to attend Ensley High School in the fall of 1963.
Ensley was a fun place. Growing up in the 80s, you know, we stayed with my grandmother a lot. I had other relatives that lived in Ensley. So that, you know, hanging out with grandma, be outside playing, got to be home before the street lights come on, running barefoot to the grocery store, all that stuff, you know. So Ensley was a lot of fun for me.
We would come on Sunday afternoon after church to have lunch at the Ensley Grill, shop at Cotton's, Goldstein and Cohen. That was a thriving and vibrant community.
At that time, Tuxedo Junction, you had a lot of entrepreneurs. Most of our businesses were owned by blacks, believe it or not. Take the Nixon building that you call it now. At the beginning, it was the Belcher building. This is where the name Tuxedo Junction got its name from, because they would have parties upstairs.
And there was foot traffic on the sidewalks, businesses that were open and doing well.
And I always said I need to go, what we used to say, up in Ensley. That's where you had Woolworth, you had Goldstein and Cohen, you had Cotton, you had all your stores. So all you had to do was go up in Ensley. You didn't have to go to Birmingham if you didn't want to, because you could trade there. I remember my grandmother's neighbor, she lived in a duplex, and her neighbor's son lived with her, and she and him had motorcycles. And when he would be out there cleaning them, he would allow me to sit on them. And now I don't know if he just liked me as a kid, but you know, he took the time to sit up and let me talk to this 7, 8-year-old kid and talk to him about motorcycles. So it was always fun. I always felt like it was a family environment. One of the things about growing up at that time in Ensley, in Tuxedo Junction, was that it was like the whole village. You could not go down the street and didn't speak to Aunt Hattie, because she would call your mama and say you thought you were doing something because you didn't speak to her. So every time you passed someone that was grown, you had to speak and call their name. Hey, Aunt Hattie, hey, Miss Moore, hey, these people. Don't your parents would get you and say you're not grown yet. You speak to people.
Okay, my name is Janice Houston Nixon. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, in the Ensley community at Holy Family Hospital. Way back in the day, in the 60s, my family was very, very involved in civil rights movement. My mother, Marie Montgomery, she was a firm believer of going to the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights every Monday night. And as a child, and as children, we went with her. Back in 1963, they had the Children's March, Birmingham Kids of 1963, and my sister and my brother were both arrested. They had so many kids they arrested that day until they had to take kids, hundreds of kids, over to the Alabama fairgrounds, and they were put behind the gates. However, my sister, Carolyn Houston, was one that was taken to the Birmingham City Jail, and she stayed there for a number of days. But that led Carolyn into wanting to do something on her own, so she decided to enroll in Ensley High School.
So my first day, I rode to school with my neighbors, and we got out of the car and walked around the corner to go into the front door, and there in front of me was the Ku Klux Klan, the Birmingham Police, the Alabama State Troopers, the Birmingham News, television, and a young black woman walking about 10 feet ahead of me.
However, when she got to school, you really didn't have protection. But she was treated terribly. She was put tacks in the seat, Clorox on her clothes. They brought rats to school. They call her all kind of names, but she still was very persistent in going. Carolyn finished school at the age of 16. She was very, very smart. She was skipped twice, and she finished with honors in 1965.
That's my closest point of reference to integration in the South. I stayed at Ensley only for about 6 weeks. My parents sold their house and moved, so I left the community at that point.
After being away from Birmingham for about 10 years, moved back to Ensley due to my grandmother getting sick. So I decided to move back to help out with her. She had had a stroke. And while I was there, I said, might as well be involved in some of the community stuff that's taking place. A friend reached out to me and was like, hey, I know you're doing things in other parts of the community of Birmingham. Would you be interested in maybe coming over to Ensley and doing some things there? So he connected me with Bettina, Voice, Deidre, some of the other people with Ensley Alive, and we started collaborating on different events. I think we all kind of have our own distinctive thing. We're all very arts focused, but different, I guess you could say, mediums of art. I'm very film type of focused person. Voice is more poetry and spoken word. Deidre more design. And so we all kind of give everybody that space to say, oh, that's their thing. We'll let them spearhead that and we'll just provide the support. We've had wellness events where we've invited people out to the Bethesda and just kind of a wellness day, how to take care of yourself, how to get that, making sure you're rested, you know. Deidre did a 100 Lenses project where she had residents of Ensley go around and take pictures. And then she did an exhibit of it. I've done, I guess you could say, documentary screenings to address violence, to address where we are as a community, and inviting the community out to, you know, let's discuss these topics. We're being affected to a degree, whether it's Ensley or the city of Birmingham. Let's talk about this and see what we can do to change some things in our community. And then just doing fun stuff, you know, let's invite people out to listen to music, or let's have a stew event where somebody comes out, pitch their idea, and the money we raise, where people paying a donation to come in, will help that person, you know, fund their project. So most of our events, if not all, I would say probably a small percentage of them are us wanting to have a good time and enjoy other people in our community. But it's always to bring awareness and to make sure we're connected with others.
A community that shared and cared. You said one word, but I don't think I can describe it. A community that shared and cared.
I probably couldn't describe it in one word, but what I would ask them was to think about the most magical place they have been, and I was like, that's where I'm from. That's where I'm from. The equivalent of that is where I'm from.
What Ensley is to me, Ensley is, it's my home base, it's my roots. It's where I come from, it's what I'm all about, because no matter what part of the country I'm in, Ensley will always be me. The struggles, the good times, the bad times, it will always be a part of me.
Alive, in a word. Ensley is alive, thus our organization's name, Ensley Alive.